Good afternoon, everybody. It's Dan McCormick live on the Greatest Salesman podcast. Once again, another unbelievable friend, an amazing guest sitting in that, what I call the hot seat each and every week. He's Todd Falcone. I'm Dan McCormick. He's the greatest salesman in the world. And if you're new to the podcast, we want to welcome you to the show. We certainly hope that you'll like the page. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can leave a review, you can share, you can comment. We are live on those two platforms, so we love your comments as we go. Your questions, perhaps. Maybe you know Todd, and certainly anything you want to share of wisdom when it comes to this incredible man, Og Mandino. Of course, it was 1968 when Og stood on stage at the Amway Corporation. I should say that Rich DeVos mentioned the book on stage in front of thousands of people, and that's really what put Og on the map after he wrote this unbelievable parable called The Greatest Salesman in the World. It is a philosophy for living. It is a philosophy for life. It is an unbelievable journey to be able to read it. And literally, in my life, I wake up every morning with scroll number 2 in my mind now for many, many years. And we certainly hope that you'll glean and have benefits from it. You can go to thegreatestsalesman.com, the website. You can order the book. You can comment. You can see, you can read the podcast. You can watch all the podcasts, etc. Austria, we want to welcome you in the house. California, Karen Johnson put that one up. Oh my goodness, Todd Falcone. It's KJ Karen Johnson.
What is up, Karen?
We've got a little bit to know the amazing Todd Falcone. And Todd, it is just great to welcome you into the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Dan. What's happening?
Well, I just got to ask you right out of the get-go, do you play those guitars hanging on the wall behind you?
I don't play them enough. I don't have the habits, the daily habits, which we're going to be talking about, I'm sure, today. But they do look good on my wall, and I'd certainly be a whole lot better if they were in my hands every single day. But no, I do play them, just not daily.
Yeah. Scotland, we want to welcome you in the house. Certainly happy St. Patrick's Day to all the Irish and the Scottish and anything that has to do with green. And I love golf courses are green. I like remuneration is green. We like the financial benefits of serving more people. Todd, you know, we have people that join us each and every week from all over the world. This is episode number 35. I'm thrilled to have you here. And I wonder if we could, from a value proposition, Todd, what I love to do for our listeners is just say, what are the 3 things that have shaped your life or each and every day of your life?
I think that changes over time. As a dad, as a husband, I would say first and foremost to me, family is everything. Having a loving, well-connected family. I mean, to me, it's like we talk about your why, right? Your why, your reason for doing things. Obviously, that changes over time as well. But I mean, the first thing that pops out of my mind is certainly my family, my wife, my kids, and all my other relatives, but most certainly my direct family that I'm with each and every day.
Yeah, that's mega.
Number 2, what's number 2? Gosh, you're going to make me pick 3 of these things. Okay. This is also a good one. Relationship capital. Like as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I think, striving each and every day to build relationship capital, as a networker, as an entrepreneur, I think that, relationships are everything. How people feel about you is everything. Obviously, if we're talking about sales, people buy from those that they like and trust and they feel good about. And I actually, learned that idea, that philosophy probably over 30 years ago when I began my sales journey. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm going to be as likable and as trustworthy as possible. And I'm going to do everything I can to build good, solid foundational relationships. Because again, obviously people need to have to have a need, a want, a pain, or a dissatisfaction if they're going to buy your product or whatever it is that you're selling. But they got to feel good about you. So every single day that I get up, I'm like, okay, who can I reach out to? In fact, literally the last 30 minutes before hopping on here, that's all I've been doing is doing these little intentional reach outs. I call them daily deposits, where I'm just reaching out to connect, say, what's up? How's it going? Not, hey, I got a new contract to sign. Because if the only time you reach out to somebody is when you want to pitch them again, you're not likely to be received very well. It's like you can't make a withdrawal from an empty bank account, and you can't make a withdrawal from an empty emotional account. What if you haven't deposited anything into it? Whether it's a relationship that has nothing to do with business or a business relationship, you certainly can't make a withdrawal. And then I think number three would be progress, not perfection. So, every day I'm doing something to move the ball forward. And, even as a lifelong entrepreneur, there are days where I don't feel like moving the ball forward. I'm just like, I don't really feel like doing anything today. But I think every day I show up in my office, I think about that. It's like, okay, what can I do to, even if it's one step, 1 yard, it'd be great if it was 10 yards, 100 yards, or however many yards down the field. But I don't want the ball sitting there. And I also know that, and I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but if I'm doing daily progress, because the thing is, I don't think we can ever be perfect, maybe striving for perfection to do it as good as efficient, as effective as possible, whatever it is that we're talking about. But also not getting down on yourself because you're not perfect. And I didn't do it good enough, and I had to get past that feeling. And then I just moved to this whole thought process of progress, not perfection. So I'm sure there's a number of other things, but you asked me for 3, and there you go, brother.
Wow. Those are really powerful, Todd. Thank you for sharing that. I love the fact, obviously, family, I call you, and you say, hey, I'm coming off the hill with the kids, or you're up there in the mountains of Oregon. Relationship capital. That's a really cool thing. I'm really glad you said it like that. And then progress versus perfection, or at least I wrote down versus. You said progress, I think.
Progress versus perfection, absolutely.
Versus perfection. And so you mentioned the fact, you're in this greatest salesman hot seat right now. If I take you all the way back to your youngest days, what was the first thing you think you ever sold?
The first thing I ever sold was myself. And it certainly wasn't my lawn mowing skills. It was me selling. Look, I want to mow your lawn. You can pay me whatever you want to pay me, but I would love to earn some money here, and I'll do a great job. Give me a chance.
Nice.
And I would knock on doors and neighbors' houses and do that. That was probably the first thing I sold. Second thing I sold was, and you'll remember this newspaper. Remember the Journal American?
Oh yeah.
I used to go crewing, which is basically you go out with a group of kids and some dude, and you go knock on doors and you go sell newspaper subscriptions. So that was my first foray into like something where it was like any kind of structure. But I think that was probably 14 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I may have had a neighbor that was the paper route delivery for the Journal American. I think occasionally at 5 a.m. I'd get up and help him. But I wasn't much of a 5 a.m. guy when I was a teenager.
Dude, that's a tough job, man. Throwing papers in the dark in Washington State in the middle of winter. It's raining and you're chucking newspapers. Yeah, I did that. That wasn't fun.
Exactly. Man, we got a lot of people chiming in, giving you some props here. They really love that progress, not perfection comment. And I really do as well. I think that is great wisdom, the daily deposits, et cetera. So I wonder now, as we talk about, I look at you as truly somebody that is, at some point in your life, you just said, faith over fear, man. I'm going to put 100, 500, 1,000 people on the phone at the same time. And you would train network marketers what it was like for them to put you on a 3-way call way back in the day, and you would help brand new people do prospecting. I wonder, where did you get that idea and that courage? Because that's an awesome thing.
Where did I get that idea? It's funny you asked me. I still do that, man. I still get on the phone and prospect live in front of, hundreds, if not thousands of people. So that's something, in fact, it's probably the most well-attended Zoom call that I do anytime, because I do regular trainings. And then when I say, look, I'm going to do live prospecting, it's like people come out of the woodwork. I started doing that probably 1990. I don't know, 97, I was with a lead generation company, and we were doing a lot of stuff on the phone, and people needed to have, some phone skills and some communication skills. And I'm like, hey, well, here's a script and here's a process. Why don't I demonstrate it for you? And I think that's such a great way of teaching, is to, show people. It's like, even if we look at basic or fundamentals of teaching, which is tell, show, try, do. Okay, because like some people are good at doing something, but others, aren't so great at teaching it. Let's just be honest. I mean, they're really like my dad. My dad is a great guitarist, but he can't teach me how to play guitar. I had to do that on my own. So I started doing it because there was just a need for it. And I remember the first time I did it, I got on and I got 500 people on a conference call. I'm like, I don't even know what the heck is going to happen. Who knows what I'm going to get?
Right.
I think a lot of times people probably come to those calls. It's like, okay, maybe Todd's finally going to get stumped. Let's see, because it's real time. It's like doing a live, right? You can't screw up in the middle of a live or you can, but in this case, the prospect, you never know what's going to happen. So I had a lot of fun doing that. And I think it's a great way of teaching because I can have a conversation with somebody, because it's, we can talk about theory or role play and those are all good. But if I'm having a conversation with somebody and then I'm done with the conversation, I come back to the audience and say, look, let me tell you why I left this type of message. So I give rationale after or in between the calls, because it's one thing to have somebody do it. It's like, why did you do it that way? And so that actually is one of the most fun things that I do is do live prospecting. And yeah, it's definitely talk about being in the hot seat. Actually, one time I was at a live seminar, 1,000 people in the room. And the guy that was running the event's like, hey, I want you to do live prospecting in front of this audience. I'm like, what? Like in front of physically, so I'm on stage with the speakerphone, with a list of leads. It's going up through speakerphone in this audience of 1,000 people. That was interesting for sure. Different dynamic when you got 1,000 people staring at you versus a bunch of ears on a conference call, but it was a blast.
So the best thing going to happen, obviously, is you go through the process, you have the party introduce you to the prospect, or however you go about doing it. You tell them the story, ask them a few questions. The best outcome, of course, is they get sponsored. They sign up in the business. They become the future next greatest salesperson in the world, right?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no, right?
Well, I mean, you could probably get a little bit worse than that. But yeah, in the end, even if they, and I don't know if I've ever had this happen, they cuss you out or they're like really mean and nasty, which actually one of the reasons I do that is to demonstrate all these fears that you're building up in your head that are stopping you, that are making you procrastinate. They're so you're building it up and let me just show you, it's not that hard. It's just a phone call. It's just a conversation. It's just a chat with somebody to discover or uncover. Do they have a challenge or a pain? Are they looking for some kind of vehicle for change? And you happen to have a vehicle for change. And then, hey, maybe your vehicle for change is going to help them. We don't know until we initiate the call. But I think that it's a great way of just demonstrating that it's not that hard. And because look, and especially in network marketing, I think say even in traditional sales, people get so caught up in here that they don't even move. They're so fearful. My whole brand is the fearless networker. And I was a fearful networker before. Even when you and I first met, in 1992, probably, I definitely wasn't the same person I am today. I was still stuck in my head, caught in my head, worried about what people are going to think of me. What if I screw up? What if I get rejected? And, and there's a pathway through that. And I think everybody who's in sales needs to get past that, because that's the number one thing I think that stops people is their mindset.
And what I think the greatest points, and by the way, the comments just keep coming. I just love it. It was great to see, we got Ed in the house and we got Harry and Freddie and Sharon, and we got all kinds of great Blanca. One of the great things about this is that you said you still do this. And I mean, so there's this thing that, we'd like to say that, you fall in love with the process, not the result. And I think that this process just kind of fires you up for the most part.
I mean, it's if I want to be successful in it, this is you can't be successful not prospecting. You can't be successful in sales not prospecting. You can't be successful in building an organization and network marketing without prospecting. So I've learned to enjoy the journey, to laugh. Right. Laughter to me is the best medicine. I mean, that's included, in fact, in one of the scrolls, right? This concept of lightening up and tomorrow's, what is it? This too shall pass. Right. So you can have some struggle or something and angry. And I'll tell you, one of the first lessons that I learned early about being successful was I was too intense. And people that, when I train, I'm pretty intense. People sometimes get scared of me and they think, oh my gosh, he must be a meanie or something. And then they get to know me and they're like, that dude's cool, man. He's fun to hang out with. But, I have an intensity about how I teach and train, because if you're here to learn, I'm here to teach you, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. And I was so intense when I began my journey that I think I chased a lot of business away, because it was like, why do I want to join that? That guy's not having any fun.
Yeah.
And then once I started having fun, all of a sudden people started, joining me and following me, and I noticed the big difference between the two.
Yeah. It's quite an art. And I think that you are probably one of the people I would say that probably enjoy the journey at a very high level. I mean, every time you and I talk, it's going to be lighthearted. It's going to be fun. I mean, we might get into some intense conversations and discussions about certain things, but for the most part, I think people think you're cool, fun, lighthearted, etc. Go back to that 1992 timeframe when maybe you were a little too intense. Give us an idea of where your mindset was maybe when I first mentioned the book to you, or what do you remember about first reading The Greatest Salesman, or The Greatest Secret in the World that you might have handy there?
Yeah, I've got the 19. What did I say? What version is this? I love these older copies, man. This is from 1972. So, and this is my original copy that you turned me on to. I remember being at an event. Look, I mean, here's the deal. I started network marketing tail end of 1989. I was hungry. I had the desire. I had no skills. I didn't know what to do. It was all new to me, but I had the work ethic, that persistence that, I will persist until, and that's obviously in this as well. And so I was just willing to do it. But my first couple of years was a struggle. I think I think, and it's so funny, like, as I'm like talking about this, because these are all part of the scrolls. Like, it's like, there's the I don't know which scroll it's in, but it's about, the concept of being patient. Like, we have to be patient while we're persisting. A lot of times we want it now, but it's not going to happen now. And many times it's not going to happen on your own timeline. It's going to happen on the timeline, whatever. But if you stop whatever it is that you're doing, you will never get there. And I was like, I just saw when I first looked at network marketing, I was like, wait a minute, if these people can do it and it's got all of these great things to offer, if it's done right and you get it going, I ain't going anywhere. So I stayed. Like, my first 2 years, I barely made any money, but I persisted. I think it was at an event. I either heard you on a conference call or it was at an event at the Rancho Mirage in, down in Southern California when you talked about this book. And what was interesting is I immediately went and bought the book, and it took me like 6 months to develop the habit of reading the book. So yeah, I didn't have that. It's like, oh wait, I got to read the scroll every single day for 30 days. Wait, what? This is a year long. I bought the book thinking I was going to read the book, which I did. I read the book first, and then I tried, to stick to the scrolls every day. And then finally, like month 6, I was just like, I got to create this new habit, which really, if we go into the first scroll, it's the whole book really is about these daily habits, simple daily disciplines repeated over and over again, lead to greatness, lead to growth, lead to, all the good things in life that you want. And then what is it? If you're making small errors in judgment, I was making small errors in judgment every single day. I'd start it, and then I was like, get 3 days into it, and then I would like put it down. I'm like, dude, I gotta, Falcone, sit your butt down. It's only like a couple minutes a day. It's worth it. And then I finally went through the entire book, and it, took me 10 months to do it. And it's awesome. I think I've probably gone through it fully 3 times over 30 plus years of being in the business. And if somebody hasn't read the book, yeah, here's the other thing about books. Like, I'm not stupid, man. If I have somebody who's really successful and they say, you need to buy this book, it's like seconds later that I go buy the book. And the beautiful thing about books is they're so cheap. It's like, there's no excuse not to go spend $10, $15, $20 on a book. It's too easy.
Yeah. Man, we got some great people. Neil, thanks for your comments. Stacy, Freddie, Thomas, Sharon. Okay. Usually when I connect with people, and you and I talk, if it's every month or sometimes it might be every quarter, sometimes more often. Over the years, I've been on your show, and you're the author of The Fearless Networker. You got one of the best-selling books. You're one of the best trainers in history. You've been in the industry a long time. You've impacted a lot of people's lives. And so here you are. You're hooking up with Chris Widener recently, and I get a text from Chris Widener out of the blue, who I know his son better than I know Chris. And he says, on my Facebook page right here, everybody, you're going to get a kick out of this. He says, Dan, it's great to meet you. I recently spent a week. I think did he spend a week with you recently?
Yeah, we were down in the Virgin Islands for a week.
Wow. I didn't get the invite on that, dude. But he says, you guys are hanging out. And he says, Todd, who's the greatest networker in the world? And you said?
Me.
And then And then he said, if there's a number 2, you said?
Me on a bad day.
It was so much. And then he says on the text on the messenger, he says, no, really, if it's not you, who would it be? And you said?
Dan McCormick.
And I get this text and I go, oh my gosh. So that's when I rang you up and I said, man, we got an opening on St. Patrick's Day. We got to get you on the show, man. So anyway, hopefully that's a story for another day. But when I asked you, as I do always, every time I put a guest on the podcast, the greatest salesman, I mean, can there be a better title of anything in the world? The greatest salesman, the greatest secret. I mean, they're just kind of magical, right?
Yeah.
Was there anything that struck you when I asked you to pull it out and read it again? Anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, well, yeah, the things that stood out for me, I was like, I'm doing that. So the stuff sunk in, right? And then hearing, reading some of the stories inside of the book, definitely, I was like, a lot of times you'll read something, and my whole thing is like, how can I apply what I just read or what I learned into my business? And there's a phrase I use all the time when I'm teaching. It's like soak and apply. Soak in the information, but apply what it is that you're learning, right? And because a lot of times people read books and then they don't, or go attend seminars or whatever it is, and then they don't actually take the idea and apply it. So, for me, and finally sitting down and reading the book the way it's meant to be read, that's all about, creating a daily habit, like a daily discipline. And look, I mean, if you've never done it before, it's not hard.
Right.
But it's easy to not do. I'll just tell you that. I mean, I know a lot of guys I've had conversations with. I'm like, so did you read it the way it was supposed to be read? And they're like, no, I read it and I kind of did. But I think that that daily repetition, it sinks into every cell of your body. And you just, you hear that you just can, the message is there. The message is inside of your body. Like, I will persist until I succeed. Like I called you today. I will greet today with love in my heart. Like, what a beautiful way to greet each and every day, right? To have love in your heart, not anger or jealousy or whatever else it might be, but love, pure love in your heart. And like, it's so funny when I talk to you, I don't think I've ever called you and you're like having a bad day. In fact, I think it's either voicemail or when you answer the phone, I'm like, Dan, how's it going? And you're like, dude, I'm having the greatest day of my life. Like every single time. And it's like, and I've actually trained on that because the impact that leaves upon me, the impression that leaves upon me is so different than when somebody like not like we don't like share, and we have shared personal stuff about family and things like that. But, when you greet somebody with love in your heart and that, that fire, that passion, it's like that, you just left me feeling better having experienced you. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Wow. It's just, I can't even tell you how fired up I am that you made time for us today. I know you're heading out of town here. And everybody, if you're joining us late, he's Todd Falcone. He is the greatest salesman in the world. He's the author of The Fearless Networker. If you need to find him, you can always find him on Facebook. If you have any questions for him or anything you want to know about Todd Falcone. And Carrie's got the comment. She says, Dan, even if they invited you, you wouldn't have gone. You wouldn't have gone. Maybe if there's great golf, she says, oh, too well. But let me just say this on behalf of the Og Mandino Company. It is an honor to be the ambassador for the Og Mandino Company. Now we have 35 shows that we've done live on Facebook and YouTube. It is an honor to represent somebody that was so genuine and so authentic in his approach to life, his philosophy for writing and living. And what I want to do is just put a little quick commercial up on stage up on the screen, because I know that everybody's watching us right now on Facebook or YouTube. And if you want to be better at understanding how social works, let's help you, as we got helped at the Og Mandino Company by having a client that's a white hat hacker, somebody that literally does this for a living. And now we can coach you through every step of why, when, how, what to do and what not to do when you're posting on Facebook. Simply go to what you see going across the screen right there. It is simply called habitfinder.com/social VIP. For a few dollars, you'll have an entire program laid out for you on all of the things that I just mentioned. And I know that when I put Paul Blanchard on the show just about a month or 6 weeks ago, it was a game changer for me and a lot of my downline, a lot of my friends that are on social that want to be more effective. but on behalf of the Og Mandino Company. That's our sponsor, habitfinder.com/social VIP. Hope everybody gets a chance to test that out and see greater results and fill your funnel with more people. As we like to say on the commercial, Todd, you and I might have thousands of followers on Facebook, but what the white hat hacker likes us to say is, let's get out of the pond and into the ocean of the 2.5 billion people and use the same principles that Og would use, meeting new people and adding value to their life. And of course, you did an amazing, you've done so many books, so many tapes, so many programs, and you're probably one of the first people that really taught me about the giving and just give away free stuff all the time. Give away do you still do your Monday night show?
I've been doing it for, I think, almost 19 years now. Amazing. Every Monday night.
And I have my Saturday morning show, my mastermind training for nearly 19 years. And so you give, and then you've got an opportunity to show your credibility, your love, and then you can ask for people to join and purchase or just be part of whatever curriculum you have. But I wonder if you couldn't share, how has your routine changed over the years, if any?
My routine, well, I mean, I'm sure it's shifted and adjusted over the years. I would say that today I'm I have a very specific routine that I follow very consistently. Typically, first thing I do in the morning is I got to move my body in some way, shape, or form. The older I get, or the more mature I get, but not too mature, I know my body needs it. My body needs yoga, stretching. It needs to move. It's funny, the older you get, if you don't move, you hurt, right? It's like, why am I sore today? I'm sore because I didn't move. You need to move your body a little bit more. And I think that also, that's something that for me personally has a big impact on my attitude, my energy levels, of course. But the crazy, like, I can get it done any time of day. I can work out day, night, middle of the day, whatever, because I don't have a job. But I don't like it. I don't like the workout cutting into my productivity. So to me, time is money, and I want to be as productive as I can when the production hours are there, if you will. Like, especially in sales, you can't be calling people at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're sleeping. So I want to be as productive and alert as possible. And then I get oftentimes asked, like, what's your DMO, like your daily method of operation? And my short answer to that is RPA, revenue producing activities. And I think it's interesting, like, there are different things that I go do throughout the day, do a Facebook Live, got to respond to email, got to, text this person, got to produce a video, write this content, talk to these people, work with this team. Those are all like intermingled throughout the day. But like the overall theme is like, it comes down to what I said earlier about moving the ball forward, right? I got to move the ball forward. And I have a very firm way of teaching this. Like if you're in business, like if you're in sales and you're sales, network marketing, direct sales, and if there's any day that you show up in your office where you don't do something to produce a new customer or a new rep, you're not in the business. You're a bench warmer. You're sitting on the sidelines. And well, Todd, come on. I got this team. I got to work with the team. They're demanding my time and attention, and they need me. Yeah, for sure they do. That's great. But you need to reserve time for yourself. You need to reserve time for your own personal production. It's the same reason like marriages go sideways in a lot. Like I was doing this training a while ago, and there's like one thing I call, and I'm answering your question, but I'm doing it, I know, probably in a slightly different manner. But my whole focus during the day, again, is I want to go, what am I going to do to generate new revenue? Is what I'm doing right now making me money? Is what I'm doing right at this very moment helping me to get the next step, to get to the next level? And if it's not, I'm like, well, what's the value of what I'm doing? Is there any value in what I'm doing? Sometimes there's a little bit of value. Sometimes there's no value. Sometimes I'm doing something that is going to ultimately, but is at a priority. And I think that if anybody who's in business should be spending some time every single day, again, bringing in that new customer, bringing in that new business person. Of course, you'll have responsibilities like servicing your customer, making sure that they feel loved on, your representatives that you're working with. If you're involved in network marketing, that you're coaching them, that you're working with them, not calling them to say, hey, how much money did you make me today? more, it'd be better for you to say, hey, how can I serve you today? What can I do to help you bring in a new representative? Who you got that's on the fence that we can engage with? I'd be happy to help you sign up a new rep, bring in a new customer. What new rep do you have that I can go out and meet and greet and welcome to the team? But again, I think, my habits have changed over the years. I'll tell you one other thing, and I have it right here, actually. This is, for me, like a daily habit. So I've got this thing called the Fearless Networking Prospecting Partner. I actually used to use this thing called the Adams S1185, which is just a generic call log. I literally log, and I've been doing this for probably 20 years. I literally log every single bit of business building activity in this thing. And this is a chronological record of all of my outgoing reach outs with intent. I'm reaching out to you to sell, to build a relationship. This thing, I fill up multiple of these things every single year. And the cool thing about it is I've got a great record, a chronological record. And so if I'm ever like down on myself, like, Todd, have you been really productive? I can go right here and I can look at yesterday and go, yeah, I did 48 calls yesterday. That's pretty good. I think that was a pretty good call versus September 23rd, September 26th. Wait, why is there no entries in here? I'm obviously not focused on the right activity. So this is a production deal for me. This is, and this goes with me. I'm leaving for Costa Rica on Saturday. This will be with me because I'll be doing business in Costa Rica. It's on my desk at all times. And it's, God forbid something were to happen with my database. I look, so many people don't back up their data, man. It's like, dude, back up your data, back up your stuff, redundantly back it up. So if God forbid something were to happen, you got all your contacts, you got all your stuff. And some of you have probably lost data before and then you backed up your stuff afterwards. So if you've never had a computer crash, and you're not backing your stuff up after today, you start backing your stuff up because it's the worst thing that can happen for you. Talk about a drama in business. But if that were to happen, I got stacks and stacks of these with all the people I know, so I'm good.
Man, that is such an incredible visual. For those that will catch us later on a podcast, and you can catch us on all the podcast sites, we look forward to your comments and your shares, your likes, your reviews, and all that. But he just shared with us a visual aid, a document, a log, if you will, of all of those prospects. And yes, we had that system back in the, was that the early 90s when we actually had that audio cassette recording prospecting partner? We'd put cassettes and testimonials.
I have the prospecting partner still.
Yes.
And we used to do what was called push play. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. And that was a great system during its day, man. It was fun.
It had its technique. Hey, listen, we want to welcome Hungary in the house. We want to welcome Austria, welcome Ontario, California. Todd, I'm looking at this up on the screen. Maybe somebody will type this in for us. Revenue producing activities.
RPA.
Very powerful, because my favorite word is consistency. And I just know that if I show up every day, I'm obviously UK's in the house as well, Holly. Sorry, I missed you there. But revenue producing activities, it's really where the rubber meets the road. And you kind of outlined it from life to business. You talked about how hard this was.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. I mean, Og gives us 75 to 1 odds at the beginning of the scrolls that you'll even complete the task. And so network marketers do you ever have people that quit in your organization, Todd?
It's so funny. It's like, everybody does. Everybody has. Everybody will in the future. There are plenty of people that sign up, never do anything. And it's so unfortunate because they just, this profession is so beautiful. But then again, why don't they do anything? Is it because they're lazy? Yeah, there's a small percentage of people that are lazy for sure. But most of it, like I said, is all here. It's all right here. And so I do a lot of training on mindset, and I know you do as well, because that's most of what we deal with is if we can get our head right, the skills are going to come along with working on ourselves. Like the whole thing about and I do a lot of training on this too, like competency, like your ability to do something well is directly related to confidence. So if you're low in skills, you're going to be low in confidence typically. But if you work on your skills, you work on your confidence, your competence, that they go right with one another. So I'm always like, look, if you're not taking action, we got to discover and figure out why you're not taking action. What specifically are you afraid of? And then, some people will work through that fear and others won't. And you can't can't make somebody face their fear. You can encourage and you can work with, and I'll take you with me. Let's do it together. I'll help you understand, have more clarity here. It's like, wait, I haven't dated in over 30 years, almost 30 years, but you go with your wingman. I don't think ladies have a term for that. Like they don't have the wing girl or something. That's like a term that dudes use, I guess. But your wingman gives you that extra confidence to go approach somebody. There's confidence in numbers. So I think anytime that somebody's not moving, either, again, the percentages of people that are lazy is really, really small. Certainly some are, but it's more that they're caught up in their head. And our job, your job as a sales manager, as a network marketing leader that's enrolling somebody, is to help them feel confident and help show them the way. Not you can take a small percentage of people and say, go get them, champ. Yeah. And they will. Some of them will figure it out, but I don't know that that's necessarily a great philosophy in sales training or in leadership and network marketing, because like there's going to be a lot of those people that you point your finger, and if you just would have helped them, if you just would have spent some time with them and worked with them, you've been able to help them develop that confidence and start to do the daily actions where, a year from now or 5 years from now, they're not even close to the same person. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't have the patience to, really just engage. Like if I signed you up, Dan, and you were brand new, I'm like, let's go, let's do this together. Yeah. Let's work together. I'll help you do this. And then it's the same thing as like raising kids. Like, our job as parents first couple of years is keep them alive from choking on or banging their head or electrocuting themselves or whatever. And then to raise good children. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a parent, and about this subject. And I was like, okay, so you have kids. She's like, yeah. I'm like, would you take your 3-year-old and throw some shoes with laces on it and say, tie your shoes? Like the kid's not going to be able to tie his shoes. There's no way. He's not going to be able to figure it out. But if you were to sit there and demonstrate and show and the loop and the bunny ears or whatever you did, right, they're going to be able to figure it out, and then they're going to be able to do it on their own. And I think we need to understand in this profession, whether it's traditional sales and you're teaching somebody how to sell, or you're in direct sales, that taking the time to actually work with somebody to help them is going to eliminate some, not all, of the people that don't do anything.
Man, incredible wisdom, great stuff. I think of the term. I think you're right. I think most people are not lazy, but when it's fun, it's simple, it's magical, and you like the people you're working with, it's like Og says in the book, if you find something that you like to do, you're more likely to perform it often. And hence that's what Og teaches us there. So really great stuff. I think of the comment you made earlier, though, when you said in 89, when you started, you went a couple of years, you didn't make money. You got the book maybe in 92. I can't remember if you mentioned that maybe it was somewhere, some stage I was on speaking about it or something. And so when things started to click for you, I mean, was it like a tsunami? How did it start clicking? I mean,
I wouldn't call it a tsunami. I mean, I know, like I coached a girl a couple years ago that made 2.4 million her first 27 months out of the chute. Wow. That's big money. It's ridiculous. I'm like, what do you need me for, right? Yeah. you see, I mean, she was massively producing, but I won't get into that. I was able to help her through some other challenges that she had, but no, definitely not a tsunami. Daily growth, daily progress. And I actually got to my first $10,000 monthly check in network marketing working out of a garage. I was living in Pacific Grove, California. And it was a duplex, and there was like 1-bedroom duplex. And then I had a garage that had carpet on the floor. But I actually had a pretty interesting lesson out of that was that really served me well. And that was this concept of perception is projection. Like what you because I was coming from a pretty desperate, beggy, pleady kind of mindset because it wasn't working for me that much up until that point. And, when I'm talking to my prospects, I know that they could feel the energy. Like, who's this kid that's like obviously struggling, this poor guy. And I just was like, this isn't working for me. Like, I was like, what would I do if I was making money? Like, how would I sound? How would I carry myself? And the crazy thing is because I was working primarily cold market at that point, I was like, these people don't know me. They don't know if I'm rich or I'm broke. they don't have like it was funny. My grandfather back in like the late 70s, like, you're looking good. I'd be on the phone with him. I'm like, I'm looking good. He's, I got phone-o-vision. Little did I know that, like, we got that now, like FaceTime or whatever. But I just decided one day, I don't remember the day, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'm going to act like a successful person. And actors do it all the time. They play parts in movies and they make it so believable that you cry and you laugh and you're like, so like it's real to you. Right. And I'm not saying we go out and we lie. Hey, I made 10 grand last month and you didn't make anything. But I'm thinking, I'm calling this realtor, this lead or whoever it is. And they don't know if I'm, in this 10-foot garage or if I'm in a 10,000 square foot house overlooking the ocean. I'm like, I'm just going to act like that dude. And that doesn't mean like, I'm better than you. I'm not talking about the snootiness. I'm just talking more about the posture and the confidence.
Yeah.
And I started to really get good at recruiting in the cold market because I discovered these people don't know me. So whatever I'm projecting on a person, this is the same thing with any relationship build at the initial stages of a relationship is you meet somebody, they start to formulate an opinion of you about who you are, what kind of guy or gal you are based on that experience with you. And so I was like, okay, well, I want them to have the impression that this kid's got it going on, is successful, has got the confidence, got a great business. And as I was able to convey that through just the way I communicated, tone, pace, all those things, just the way I talked. And I started to recruit people. And it was, warm market's different. Your buddies know, they remember you dancing on the, naked with a night, with a lampshade on your head on some box in a club that you got kicked out of in 1984, or all the other stuff that you did. And even though you've turned over a new leaf and now you're a totally different person, your friends still for a long time will see you the way that they've always known you. So it's a little harder to change that perception. You can over time, but the immediate, with cold market, they don't know what's going on. So you can be whoever you want to be. And there's power in that.
I love the comment that I've used for years, and that is that the wealthiest people in the world of direct selling master the art of recruiting and promotion. I wonder how you deal with people that come into your teams and your trainings. You deal with, some people have this sense that they are like product evangelists. Okay. They're very, very good at the selling of their product. How do you bridge the two, and how do you coach people from the evangelist of selling the product to falling in love with the recruiting process? Because that's obviously where the bigger money is going to be made.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that I think it's great when people are product centric, product focused, and there's so many great products that are sold through network marketing that to some extent your greatest strength can actually become your greatest weakness, because you got such a product that's so easy to move and people love it, and it's just easy to talk about the product that they oftentimes don't even talk about the business opportunity. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because if you think the product is that good and you think that the product is that impactful, you're minimizing your potential of reach to impact a infinitely greater number of people by not talking about the business. The beautiful thing about customer acquisition is that, and having a great product, is those people will ultimately be some of your very best distributors, because they have this direct, passionate connection to the product, and they've got the story. So I'm not against somebody from being product centric, but definitely, my messaging is, look, if you think this product is that good and you're so good at retailing it, don't you think that you owe it to the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people out there, or millions of people that could have a need for this product, by, bringing this business out to people? And it's the same thing like network marketing and McDonald's is kind of an interesting thing. Like McDonald's is like, and I heard LT, and so crazy. I'm like, following the legend of legends and network marketing from last week. But, McDonald's is like the greatest example of duplication that there is. It's the same thing everywhere you go. And how do we create that same level of duplication in terms of, results? Well, I mean, being, simple, you mentioned at the beginning of this, keeping it simple, providing systems. And I think with the customer centric people, it's giving them an avenue to follow those processes and systems where they feel comfortable. Like they may feel super comfortable talking about the product, but clearly they're at this point not yet super comfortable talking about the business. So you need to be providing tools or resources that, give them the ability or an easier pathway to introducing the business. Because then if I'm talking to a person about McDonald's, for example, I'm like, look, if you had one McDonald's, not the healthiest place in the world, we all know that, but how many burgers would you sell with one McDonald's versus what if you had 100 McDonald's? The impact that you would make, the reach on that is infinitely greater. You've got something that clearly is way healthier than McDonald's. Don't you think that you owe it to all these people that have a need for your product to build a distribution network, and you get them focused in that angle?
It's a great example, as I've got a newer, in the last several years here, In-N-Out Burger. And while I don't eat there much, but it's systematically, the menu, everything is so simple. And the newest high school kid on the block can hold up that sign and show the 3 or 4 things on the menu. And it's just, everything is simple. And I love how you brought up the McDonald's, because obviously from a franchising standpoint, it's the world's greatest success story that I'm aware of. This has been a blast. I know that our audience today, I mean, whether it's Ed here or Freddie putting stuff up or Sharon overseas, it's just great. It's so great to have your comments. And I wonder, in closing, if you wouldn't, maybe I got a couple more questions, but where do you see the world of direct selling going today?
Oh, man, I think it's going nothing but up, especially with what we've experienced these last 12 months being in lockdown. More and more people are going, wait, how can I make money from home? How can I take care of my family without having to go someplace? I know we all want to go someplace and all of that, and everybody's probably tired of being in lockdown mode. But I actually, when we hit lockdown, which is really a year and 2 days ago is when we locked down, there were, over the next couple of months, there were multiple people that I had either done business with in the past or knew me as a network marketing expert. They're like, hey, I need to get involved in network marketing. What's good out there? Or people that were on my teams many years ago, bro, I need to get back involved in network marketing. My business, my realty company is shut down. My DJ business is shut down. This business is shut down. And I think there was a pretty big awakening over the last year that, like, what happens? We didn't ever expect this to happen. A lot of people, unfortunately, I mean, they got laid off. Businesses went out of business. They couldn't go back to their job. I mean, they're on unemployment, which, you can't sit there and stay on unemployment and get ahead in life. And so I think that, this business model is absolutely beautiful. I mean, where else can you go for very little money? And, no, you don't have to have some specific background. You just come in and go build something. So I think that, I mean, if we look at the numbers, it'll be interesting to see the statistics from the WFDSA next year, that comes out from like 2020. But I know that in 2020, the companies that were already kind of existing and weren't trying to start in the middle of a pandemic, those companies had great years. Like, I know I was talking to Freddie earlier. What's up, Freddie? We were actually chatting earlier today. I mean, his company had huge growth. LT was talking about some of the work he's doing with this company out of Germany. I just think that there's nothing but great things to happen in the future for direct sales.
Yeah, sure feels that way. It feels like our time is here. And at this stage of your life, in closing, maybe the last question, when we go back to 92 and we think about the greatest salesman in the world or the greatest secret, whatever that first book was that I made mention to you, how do you keep up on the self-help today? Is it podcasts? Is it books? How do you continue to stay abreast of keeping yourself sharp, so to speak?
If I took you down to my bedroom, you'll see a stack of books. I'm always reading books. I'm plugging into podcasts. I'm plugging into, most recently, Clubhouse. A lot of times I'm giving content on Clubhouse, but also consuming. I think anything that you can do that's sharpening the saw, that's sharpening your skill set, is a beautiful thing. And look, I've had waves where I'm in a really great personal development mode. And like, I'm just, to be honest, like I know you get a lot of people on your show. Oh, they must always be. And they're no, I mean, look, there've been seasons of my life where I'm not in a growth mode, and my attitude and my mindset and my results show it. Now, not that I've never had a crash. And the reason I've never had a crash is because number one, I already mentioned it, is I'm a relationship builder, and I always have been. Number two, because I always, every single day, no matter how I feel, in spite of how I feel, even if I have no energy or whatever, I'm just not feeling good, always focusing on revenue producing activities. And because, I have that basic fundamental thing that I've always done, even while not in a growth mode, that keeps me, I would say, level. But if I want to go like this, I gotta be in a book. I gotta be in a podcast. I'm getting ready to hop on a plane in a couple of days, and I've got this hard drive that's got, it's just got everything you could ever want on it. And it's like an unlimited resource for me in terms of personal development, personal growth. There's I think 12,000 books on it. There's every audio, video, presentation, there's so much stuff. It's awesome. And it took me a long time to acquire all that information over the years, so I have a nice, compact, convenient travel, ease of travel library with me. So,
wow, that's great. I picked up the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People last night, and I was laying in bed, and I told my wife, I said, honey, I've been wanting to reread Begin with the End in Mind. And really, what does that mean? And what was Covey? My wife had him as a professor in college. And I said, honey, I think I've got my funeral planned out. And she just fell apart laughing. She says, I'm just glad you got that figured out, because he gave this great analogy in Begin with the End in Mind of how would you want it to look? What would you want your friends, your family, your loved ones to say? And I can say nothing but great things about having you as a guest today. What an honor. What a thrill. And just to have you in the seat as the greatest salesman, meeting you back in the early 90s, and still continuing the dialogue and still continuing the journey. Not everybody keeps going like you and I do. They don't just, they just don't fall in love with the journey. And hopefully today, I know you've inspired people to want to continue on the journey. And so can't thank you enough, man. Safe travels. We look forward to having maybe we'll get Chris on here one day and have some other good friends and good stories to share. But God bless you. He's Todd Falcone, the Fearless Networker. Great guest today on the Greatest Salesman Podcast. I'm Dan McCormick on behalf of the Augmentino Company. Have the greatest day of your life. And bye for now.